Yeah, I just want to preface this video with the fact that, dude, I feel like every time that I do one of these fucking videos, like I'm downstairs working and I can hear the dialogue in my head or the monologue in my head, and I'm like, okay, yeah, like that's how that works, or oh, that's a good idea, why not do this or whatever. But as soon as I get behind this fucking mic, man, it just all just goes right out my head. But this one here I have written down: living with people who have a different worldview than you, both in your home and society. And whoa, that's a tough one. Now, at first glance, you'd be like, yeah, it's easy to just, not take people at what they say, but that's not me, right? Like if somebody's berating you, right, and it's some random fuckwit on the street, of course I'm going to be like, okay, I'm not even going to pay attention to you. But when they live in your home, that sounds so fucked up, but what I mean is it's going to make me sound like a bad guy. I know it already. What I mean by that is, like, the people that live with me have very different worldviews to me, and it always fucks me over because I'm the one that is willing to bend the knee, and usually they are not. And it's because I am trying to come to the end of myself, and I'm like, okay, one of us has to falter, because clearly if I just start arguing with somebody, we're not going to get anywhere. It's just not going to happen. So it's always really annoying when I'm doing that, and then something that is clearly true that I am saying, and they're not willing to do that. And this sort of gets into, I guess, a little bit of my own history. I always fucking bring it back to myself. I'm sorry. But I heard something earlier. I think it was during like a Cliff, whatever the fuck his name is. It's like the Christian guy. Somebody asked him in the crowd. It was like, okay, most of America is Christian. Now, this is what the kid said. Most of America is Christian. If you were Muslim, then if Christianity is true, or if you were in a Muslim nation, rather, and Christianity is true, then what are the chances of you, like, coming to Christ? And I feel like Cliff didn't make a very good point, just because, just because you grow up in a Christian area or whatever does not make you a Christian. That is the one thing that people seem to get wrong about Christianity. And I will give myself as an example. I grew up in a household where my dad says he's Christian, and clearly he's not. Him and I do not even believe the same Bible. We don't even believe the same gospel. Like, he says he's a Christian because he grew up Christian. It's like, that's a cultural Christian. That's not a real Christian. And then, my mom does not read the Bible, but I know she is a believer in Christ, right? Like, I know she is. So, but here's my point, is that, I actually read the Bible, or I am actually enveloped in things like that. And you could say the same about somebody in another country. Like, here's a good one, is that my grandmother, once again, I love her to death, and my aunt, I love them to death. But realistically, if they did not grow up in America, I don't think they would be Christian. I just don't. Like, there's no sort of like, this is true because it's entirely true, not this is true because this is what I grew up with, right? So my grandmother grew up in an area that I think literally her actual dad was a pastor. So, right there, right? Like, she grew up with the Bible her entire life. And if I was to show her the Quran, she'd be like, I don't believe it. Now, the same could be said about somebody in a Muslim country, or somebody, in India, or somebody wherever they are. It takes a lot of courage to actually stand up for the truth. And I think that's the one thing that I can say about myself, is that if I grew up in an Islamic country, right, and somebody did hand me a Bible and I read that, and I really, like, understood the message of it, I'd be like, oh yeah, dude, Christianity's legit. It's real. It is fucking real. And that's sort of how I came about it here, because nobody will believe you just because America is majority Christian. Like, if you say you're a Christian somewhere, everybody's like, oh, here we fucking go. You know, it's like, no, it's not like that, dude. Like, shut the fuck up for once, okay? Because I did not have the same trajectory to Christianity that a lot of people did, right? And that's one thing where, like I said, my mom did not tell me the Bible, or my dad obviously did not tell me the Bible. It would not behoove him to do so, because now I live in a house where I have an antithetical view to my father. Like, we just have entirely different worldviews, and that always gets me into trouble. Because I'm asking heart posturing questions, and, you know, he's asking material, physical questions, right? He's like, okay, so then why not do this? Why not? It's like, oh, there's plenty. It's just such a fucking boomer mentality, man. And I hate the fact that they're all like this. I don't want to say all, most boomers are like this. I know a few of them, and I'm sure you know a few of them that are actually pretty chill. But a lot of these people are just annoying. But yeah, even like in society, you know, the society is geared against real Christians. It just is. Like, even though, this is the best thing though, right, is that even though we live in a supposedly Christian nation, it cannot get any farther from Christianity. I mean, like, literally, like, you know, I'm not even talking necessarily politics. I'm like, look at the people, man. Like, look at the people. Like, the people do not even recognize God working, or the work that has been done. It's a rarity to find real Christians anymore. It is. It's just a rarity, because you literally have to pry people and kind of like ask them questions to see, or to ask them questions to see if they really, believe the one true gospel of grace. Because I remember, I think that's part of the reason why one of the people from the church came over, was to start asking me questions to see if I really believe the Bible, and to kind of open me up, because yeah, I totally get that. Like, we literally have to scan for people who are the wolves among the sheep. It's kind of insane, really, that we even have to fucking do that. But yeah, a lot of these, you know, people who say they're Christian and are not, you know, that's, oh my God, man, they fucking grind my gears. And it's not even about living a Christian life or anything, right? It's like, there really is, the Christian life is to be lived by faith, right? So it's possible to have somebody who's a drunkard, who's homeless, and believe the gospel. And people will always, this is why I fucking hate the works trusters, man, because they'll be like, oh, the drunk and the idolaters and the liars and the fornicators will not enter heaven. Okay, that's true. So there's a reason why we get our renewed body, because then we become sinlessly perfect, right? That's literally what that's for, so that we can enter into the kingdom. So shut the fuck up and know your Bible first off, okay? Before you start trying to like clown on me for something you know very little about. But I'm gonna go back real quick to that cliff thing. I honestly believe that, like, because obviously the kid was pointing at the fact that why would God favor a specific area to give the gospel to, just because like we're white people or whatever. And in first glance, that's a fair point, until you recognize that, like, just because, like I said before, just because we say we're a Christian, whatever, Christian nation or whatever, does not mean that, like, everybody in here is Christian. In fact, honestly, I am under the assumption that there are Christians spread very evenly, like, real, true Christians spread very evenly throughout the world. Like, very evenly. Like, you'll probably find just as many Christians in China, where they're being persecuted to death, as you're going to find here in America, like real Christians. Like, I can almost guarantee it. You know, I think that was sort of a false pretense, I suppose that's the word, but I'm not entirely sure. But yeah, fuck, man. Like, every time I open my mouth in my house, I'm getting my ass kicked. Now, obviously, I'm not being physically abused, okay? So don't, before you call the cops, yes, but I mean, you know, I'm just getting, like, hounded, you know, about whatever it is. And it's like, dude, you don't even know the first half of it, because here you are, a 63-year-old, or I don't even know how this fucking idiot is anymore, 63 years old, and you don't even have life figured out. And granted, neither do I, But my point is, this guy thinks that he knows everything, and it's like, oh, how little we know, right? I'm the exact opposite. I'm like, how little I know about things really shows who I am, rather than my strength in my identity, or my strength, not in my identity, because I think that's actually true, but my strength in my ideas. How about that, right? I'm not clinging essentially to my ideas. So yeah, hopefully that made some sense. As per usual, man. Fucking, I hate ranting, but I do it every time because it's all connected. It is all connected, and we just don't know it yet. But in some way it is. I just feel it in my bones. It's my gut feeling, that sixth sense.